Good morning. I'm the Reverend Julie Golding Page from St. Patrick's Anglican Church. This month, our daily devotionals come from the world of sports. They're available in video form at plateggnog.blogspot.com. Today, we'll continue talking about baseball and its parallels to our Christian faith. One of the most popular baseball players today is Josh Hamilton. The 31-year-old outfielder for the Texas Rangers seems to be the Wayne Gretzky of baseball, blowing away all sorts of records. At his first major league start in 2007, he hit a home run. In 2008 and 2010, he won the Silver Slugger Award. Also in 2010, he was named the American League's MVP. He's been an all-star every year except his first year in the majors, and this year he set a new record, receiving 11 million votes. And in May of this year, Hamilton hit 4 home runs in a single game. He's hot, and everybody knows it. But it hasn't been easy for Josh Hamilton. That could be said about anybody trying to make it in pro baseball. But in Hamilton's case, many of the hard times have been of his own making. In his personal life, he's struck out over and over again, and in front of millions of people. Back in '99, he was drafted as the first overall pick by the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. But Hamilton had problems with injuries, and even more serious problems with drug addiction. Those nearly cost him his marriage, as well as his baseball career. But he got into rehab, and then he and his wife managed to work things out. And finally, in 2007, he made it to the major leagues with the Cincinnati Reds. Well, 2007 was a long way from the draft in '99, but it finally looked like Hamilton was getting somewhere. However, that wasn't the end of his addiction problem. It's resurfaced now and then throughout his career, and every single time it makes big headlines. It must be a nightmare for him and his family, because whatever he does in a big way. When he succeeds, everybody knows, and the same goes for when he falls. The funny thing is, though, baseball fans still love him. Usually his story of falling into addiction again and again would turn people off. Instead, parents hold him up as a role model. And it seems to be because no matter what, Hamilton stays honest about who he is, with his fans and also with God. Josh Hamilton is a Christian, and he's very upfront about his faith. He knows he has a lot to be forgiven for, and he also knows that God will be there with him each time to forgive him. So he has the freedom to be totally himself with God and with everybody else. So he can be the real Josh Hamilton and not some sort of false hero who pretends that he's somebody he's not. And the fans really respect that. So does God. Josh Hamilton's story reminds me of someone in the Bible who was larger than life too. That person is King David. You can find his story in the Old Testament books of Samuel and Chronicles. King David was Israel's greatest king, and like Josh Hamilton, he had great successes. He routed Israel's enemies, he gave his nation peace and prosperity, but he couldn't seem to lead his own family or keep control of his personal life in other ways either. His son, Absalom, even led an uprising against him, which eventually ended up in Absalom being killed. And then there was David's famous affair with Bathsheba. He committed both adultery and murder, and he didn't even see that he'd done anything wrong until a prophet named Nathan came and actually confronted him with the information. Yet after all this, in Acts 13:22 in the Bible, God calls David a man after my own heart. When you know his very big and public failures, you have to wonder about that. But it's because David, like Josh Hamilton, knew God on a personal level. He kept talking to him, whether he was succeeding or failing. He was himself with God and everybody else. He was genuine. And as soon as he came to his senses and realized he was doing wrong, he admitted it and asked God for his forgiveness. Then he went on his way as David, the friend of God, not just David the king, confident in God's forgiveness. Well, like Josh Hamilton and David, we can be real with God and with each other too. In fact, that's what God wants from us, and it's the only way we'll ever be truly human. Otherwise, we'll be putting up some kind of facade, a mask, if you like, and never be able to enjoy right relationship with God or with each other. It all starts with being real with God first. Why not join me in coming to God as your true self, with all your successes and failures today? For St. Patrick's Anglican Church, I'm Julie Golding Page.